everyone. Arthur Bablis here. Congratulations for getting to the Conscious Evolution Show, the podcast, part of the Evolve from the Inside Out community. And we're going to be coming to you here. We're going to be having discussions and conscious conversations. And our whole purpose is to get you thinking about your thinking, to ask you some questions so you can discover the decisions that you need to make in order for you to start moving your life forward. How do you bring in more joy, more love, more happiness, more success into your life? You see, leadership, success and happiness, it doesn't just happen. It's cause and effect. Being a world-class therapist, an extraordinary coach and heart-centered healer requires you to do the inner work, to continually grow and evolve. In this podcast, I'm going to share with you what I've learned on my journey in this wonderful field, blending modern science, traditional wisdoms and spiritual laws to help you to discover that essence inside of you and ask yourself the questions to help you to finally break through. Here's a question. Who would you be? What would you do? And how would you feel if you already had blank? Think about that. This podcast is going to help you fill in the blanks. This is Arthur Bablis. Okay, welcome everyone, Arthur Bablis, and it's that time. Let's get those fireworks off. Geez, today is going to be a night of fireworks. We've got a great show for you tonight. Arthur here, let me get this microphone organised. It's been a while since we've been here live, guys. Obviously, Facebook's had some new changes with Facebook groups and Meta and all that type of stuff. So wherever you're watching from, let us know you're live, #live or #replay. And see, tonight, Conscious Conversations, the Conscious Evolution Show, I've got a fantastic speaker that we're going to spend some time with. We're going to maybe break some bread. We're going to not necessarily have a drink, but we're going to have a conversation about her journey, her vision, her purpose, and her mission in terms of what she's doing today with her work and what she sees for all of you. What's the potential for all of you in this industry? So, guys, Conscious Evolution Show, we've been in this industry now for the last 30 years. You know that 3 decades training therapists, coaches, and healers to be able to become better quality people through all these wonderful tools, these transformational tools of NLP, hypnosis, kinesiology, energy work. It's really about helping you become, I keep on saying, a better quality human being, but how do you build that resilience muscle? How do you build that bounce back ability? You know, that in positive psychology, they say it's the science of resilience. It's how do you use the adversities in your life to actually turn them into a gold for you? It's like the alchemy of change, the alchemy of transformation. It's called adversarial growth. And today, I want to introduce to you, we've got a wonderful speaker I'm going to share with you. I've written some stuff about her, right? So I'm going to read some things. So I want to actually pay tribute to her in terms of what this person has done. So we're going to meet Saliha, or just Sal, you know, however you pronounce. People know her Sal. But Sal, she is the podcast host of The Untold Story. And so it's a podcast which actually shares stories of people like yourself in the industry have been able to overcome adversity and make a difference. So she has a history in filmmaking. She is a youth worker. She's a retreat leader. She has many hats. She's a mum, but she's passionate about helping people to rise up, to help people overcome the challenges in life and build that resilience muscle and become better quality people. I've known Sal now not a long time, but you know what? You don't need to know people for a short time to know that you've known them for a long time. I've only met her about 6 months ago. We've got mutual acquaintances, and we'll probably talk about that because that's the connection that we have. But you know, when you meet people and you feel a resonance, you feel like you meet people and you know they're congruent. They've done work. They're speaking from the heart. They don't need to put a mask on, and it's so refreshing to meet people like that, because that's really what life is about, to be able to do the work, to share your light, share your spirit, and be who you're born to be. And so, you know, when we had the opportunity to connect and say, you know, come on the show, let's have a chat, let's hear your story, because knowing a bit about her story, what she's gone through to be where she is today, I thought she needs to be here. She's co-authored her own book. It's on Amazon. It's called The Ultimate Self-Care Workbook. She puts these retreats together. She's dedicated to holistic healing and helping people rise up. So everyone, I want you to put, let me get my sound effects ready. I want you to put your hands together and let's bring down Saliha. Come on down, Sal. Look, everyone's clapping. Stop it, please. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Welcome, Sal. Thank you so much for being here tonight and giving us your time. I know as a mum and a thriving business and juggling home, juggling work, juggling clients, juggling your mission, finding some time to be able to have a chat, I think is precious. And so I want to honour you for giving us the time. And yeah, let's just get into it.
Well,
What do you want
thank
to
you,
say?
Arthur. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I love the intro. Really honored and grateful to be here, right? And yes, when something's so big, so interesting, like your show is inviting me to come and speak, that is something I cannot miss, right? Even if my kids are asking for porridge, right? I have to be here. So I'm happy I'm here. Thank you, Arthur.
I love it, even if they're asking for priority. Yes, look, we've already got people watching. We got Connor saying awesome, Patricia saying watching live. Hey, Sal. So yeah, we got people saying hi. So if you're watching live, as we have our conversation, if we say something which triggers you, great. If we say something that doesn't trigger you, great again. But if you want to share a story, if you've got a question for us, put it in there, and I can ask Sal the question. And if not, we will get back to you and connect with you because, Sal, well, I don't know what she's got for us tonight. I just want to hear the Sal story. So first of all, I want to make sure we get the pronunciation of your name right because people just call you Sal, but, your name is not Sal. I've got to pronounce it right. So is it Saliha?
Yes, very close, very good, actually. I've had people slaughter and break my name into pieces, but I'm grateful for that pronunciation. It is the closest it can get. It's
Okay.
Saliha.
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 Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Saliha.
yes.
So
And
Saliha.
yes.
Okay.
And
All
it's a
right.
Turkish name, whereas I was born in Pakistan. So even for most Pakistanis, this name is very alien. So yeah, it's Saliha. And I love it when people call me Sal because that's what I feel more comfortable with
Mm,
as time has gone by. So
mm.
thank you for asking me that. Yeah.
Okay. So does the name mean anything? Is it have you done research on the name? Has it got a embedded meaning, vibration or frequency?
So culturally, we're very in tuned with the fact that when a baby is named, what does the name mean? So the day I was born, like it was very like out in the open that Saliha means the honest one or the pious one. It comes from the Arabic word saleh, which is meaning honest or pious or somebody who's pure. So yeah, that name and the meaning stuck with me for a
Okay.
very long time. The meaning part was more important than the name in the culture that I grew up in.
Wow. Okay. Love
Yeah.
it. So, well, there's a reason why you were given that name, right? And then maybe there's an alignment to the work that you're doing now. So, Sal, tell us. I mean, I can say what's the Sal story, but there's a lot to tell us. Like, what I want to know is because obviously you've come from another country to Australia, so you're born in a different culture. You had a different upbringing, obviously different values, different things that you focus on in terms of what's important in your life and whatever the case is. And yeah, obviously you got women and you got men and they have certain roles in life. And because I know that, like I've got a Greek background. My parents are Wogs. They came from the old country, right? And I look back and one thing that I cherish a lot is the values that I've been given from my parents in terms of how they allow me to feel grounded today. So I want to know a little bit about your upbringing and those values and how did they help you go through the transitions you went through to be where you are today?
Good question, Arthur. I mean, like, it does take me back into time. I came to Australia in 2002 with my family. So, being the eldest of five siblings, and we are very close in age. So, my brother Mohammed is 2 years younger to me. Then I've got another brother who's 1 year younger to him. And they're like 1 and 2 years gaps between the five of us, three brothers, two sisters. And we come like this big family to Australia. And as being the eldest, I'll bring the story to myself. That's how I looked at the world. I think for me, being the eldest of five and looking at my parents as how much they worked towards bringing us to Australia, like all the tests, the exams, the selling of the house, and everything that they did. for me, that played out as the big sacrifice they're making for us. And what they told us was, we are doing this so that you can go for your higher education to Australia. And my dad had been to Australia like twice, and he loved
Hmm.
it. He loved the water with the mountains, and he said this is a good place to take my babies there. Just to give you a background, back then in 2000 and 2001, 2002, in Pakistan, people were sending their kids for higher studies to either Canada or England or Australia. And it was usually the golden child, or the one that they could afford to send, or a kid who like does a job and says, Mom and Dad, I have enough money to, let's say, go to Dubai or go to England to do higher studies. Because back then, there were two types of schooling. There was either the private, which was very exclusive, and only like the kids of ministers and people who had like the money and the cash, they would get in there, and then they would like, get really good jobs. There was one aspect that was that. But the other aspect was the public schooling, which was a very, very unkept, and it wasn't a very good place to graduate from, right? So the people who are like in Pakistan, just like India, we have class systems. And this class system is only to give you an idea of where we fit it in economically. So mom and dad, they did the best to give us what we had. We always, I don't feel like we didn't have anything. And in that, we were sort of like the middle class. And middle class, what was happening to, which was the majority of Pakistan, their kids didn't know what to do about their education. They would either like graduate from like a private school where the parents would like literally sacrifice their lives to pay for that private education. And still, kids who are coming from privileged backgrounds would go ahead. So there was a lot of like little bit of a confusion of where my kids will head when they graduate. So my dad said, instead of sending one kid, I'm going to get you all to a place which is like a welfare society where I can, send you to high school, and then you will go to the best universities. This is also because, Arthur, in our family, and I have started reflecting back now and looked into
Hmm.
this, education, as in getting educated so that you can have a good livelihood, getting educated so you're like widened your horizons so that you can go forth and achieve things that makes your life better, was very, very important. In terms of that, when I was in school, around year 9, I was not doing well in school. And it was for back then, we would either we would have a final examination, and that final examination would tell us whether we go to year 10 or we stay in year 9. And the
Hmm.
staying part was called fail. So right on your report card, you would get this big fail. And I remember when that happened in my life in year 9, I did not pass my year 9 and I failed. And I remember how dad gave me and my brother also failed, actually. He was in a different year younger to me. And could be a lot of reasons why that kind of thing that happened in life. But the way my dad approached it was, our forefathers went to Aligarh University, which is one of the top universities in India, because as you know, India, Pakistan was one. So ancestors went to universities in India. And what is happening to you guys? So it was just like, our forefathers went to Aligarh University, and what is wrong with you guys? Motivating us in that way just made us feel like, I am dumb, I am stupid. And being the
Hmm.
eldest, Arthur, I just felt like I cannot do what my parents are just asking me to do. They would do it, they would say, the only thing we are asking you is to just get good grades, and you cannot do that. We're not asking you to get food on the table, we're not asking you to get clothes. So all of that was what I took with me when 2002, when we came here. I was like, they made a big sacrifice, and now I better do well in my education.
Hmm.
So it's somewhere there that my journey towards, okay, now, I've come to Australia, it's a new beginning. Let me get into this new way of being. It was very hard the first year, but yeah, that's where it starts, the little beginning of
Okay, so
education.
how did you get to Australia? What was the purpose of you getting here? Like the decision in order for you to come to Australia, what was that based on? And what were you looking for coming to Australia?
I was mostly, I think, if I look back, tagging along with my family. I knew that my dad had good reason. I knew that he wanted us to have a better life, in terms of that if you all.
So
Because
he made the decision. He made the decision to bring the
yes,
whole family.
I was 18. I was 18 and I was the eldest of five, just to bringing that into perspective. And it was his decision, yes. And I mean, back then it was the way it was. Like if dad decides and we're living
Mm.
with dad, then we go with dad,
But
right?
when you're thinking about that, Sal, it's like, he's a man who's got a family, five children, and he's leaving his homeland,
Yes.
right, to go to a strange country, a country he's never been before, a country who may not know the language well, a country who may not know many people, if any. For what purpose? To be able to create a better life for his
Yeah.
family, his kids. I mean, when you think about what does that show, the characteristics or what's in that man's heart, your dad's heart, to make that decision, to take that risk in order to maybe give his kids what he never had.
That's it, Arthur. You've hit the nail. Um, I just wanted to bring it out there too. Like, apart from all the, the things that he did, like the paperwork and everything that he had to do, like selling things, there was one thing that I saw in his eyes, and that was conviction. That was like a trust. It was like knowing that this is a big risk, but it will be good for my family. It was a knowing. And I think I trusted the knowing, and that's
Mm.
why I didn't question much. I trusted that if he thinks and he believes that this is for the better. My dad's been very intuitive all his life, and I think he's passed it on to me too. And this takes me back to a story of how he just trusted his gut, and I also got intuited with it. It happened very young, when I was very young, actually, when I was 9 months old. And this is the story about when mom and dad only had me, and a baby was on the way, or not on the way, because I was just 9 months old. And so they used to
Maybe
call
they were
me,
making a baby.
you don't know, because that's another story. I always thought mom is pregnant. Like for me, it's a constant thing. Mom is pregnant. Like just for me, it was a constant. She's
Yeah.
always pregnant. Like there's always a
Yeah.
belly, right? So we were living in this apartment, which was the top most apartment of this 3-story apartment building. And this is what dad tells me, right? Because of course I don't really remember the actual sequence of it, but it's about trusting his gut. And what he said was that he and mom were looking, they were just having a normal afternoon, and suddenly they see their baby, Saliha Gul, as they called me. Gul is what you call somebody with love. Saliha Gul, they couldn't find her anywhere, right? And my mom's looking, behind the sofa, because I was in the crawling
Yeah.
stage. And my mom used to say, used to lock yourself in the glass cabinets where she used to put her dishes and all, but she couldn't find me there. And my dad's looking behind the TV because, like, there are wires, and and they get really worried, right? And out of all this chaos, my dad suddenly has this aha moment, and he says to mom, like, I'm going to now. I'm just going to do something, and you have to trust me. And she's like, what are you going to do? And he's like, just trust me. And he goes out of the front door, and he says that there were flight of like six, there were six sets of steps. So there were like
6
20.
flights of steps. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. And I think the way he explained it is in a different language. He said the stories I'm trying to translate as I speak. Um, he said he went out and he went on each step because there was no elevator, and he went slowly, slowly, and just telling himself, I'll find her, I'll find her, I'll find her. And not knowing why he's going down the steps, because if I was a baby on the steps, I would have by now, rolled down or something,
Mm.
right? So he was holding on to himself, he's saying, trusting that he'll find me. He says that when he got to the end of the steps, which was long flights of steps, he saw the door open and light was coming through. So he went from the darkness into the light, which was the sun outside, and he's just closed his eyes and he's like, Saliha Gul, where are you? And he looked down on the garden, because there was a cemented area and then there was the
Mm.
garden area. He saw his baby, which was me, just eating grass and just enjoying the moment, right? And then he's like, he didn't even overreact. He says he just picked me up, and he says, if she can do that, then she can go all the way up too. If she's crawled her all the way down, I believe that she will go all the way up. And he says he literally put me back on the steps like you put a kitten or a
Mm.
dog or something. And he watched me go all the way up, not tiring, not giving up. And he says that you were so like in tune with like just joy and happiness, and as a baby, just not even knowing that what tiredness is, you just kept going.
Mhm.
So I feel at a very young age, he was very like connected with his gut feeling, and I started trusting it at a very young age. So I do believe a lot of spaces in my life I didn't question. I just went with it. And I think it was a very good thing that he did. He did leave behind his parents. My mom
Yeah.
did leave behind her father, who was in coma, which is a very, very
Mm.
sad thing to leave your father in that state, like not knowing what will happen. But our dates were done, everything, the tickets were bought. And just before my grandfather, which is my mom's dad, had the stroke, which led him to the coma, he had wished us well and said,
Yeah.
that stayed with my mom. She knew she had to go to Australia,
Mm.
but her heart was like stretched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Mhm.
I'm glad you shared that story because that's not the first time I heard that.
Yeah, yes. I think you didn't hear the
I didn't see
ending.
that. I didn't hear the last bit, but I
Yeah,
remember the
yeah,
Saliha goal. I remember that, because that was in one of the metaphors you used in the Present Perfect program. So I'm
yes.
glad you
Callum and
shared
Connor.
that because with
Yes,
Callum and Connor, so obviously that's the connection, right? The boys from Connect Coaching,
yes.
Connor Healy and Callum Hock, and I think they're listening and watching now as well too. I think that's the connection that's where we met.
Grateful,
So
yes.
you shared that story, and when I think about the story, there's so many lessons in that story.
Mm.
In terms of your father trusting, walking down the stairs, a windy staircase. When you got to that point, a light hit him, and it was basically the light from you and his daughters in nature on the grass
Eating
enjoying.
grass.
How did you get down there? Maybe people never know today, but the fact that he he saw something within that. If you're able to do that, then what are you able to do? Let me ask you, because not many. Well, is that a limiting belief? Maybe babies can do that at 9 months old. We maybe think they can't do that, right? But
Yeah.
what was it? And maybe it's in the name. Maybe it's because I know you do all this work. Obviously, you're an old soul. Obviously, there's something more to you. So that exploration, you going down the stairs and you being down there, what, if you're to know now, what led you there on that journey as a 9-year-old?
If I look into it, I think as a baby, and when I have connected with my, inner child, I feel it's a place where you just are curious and you're so connected with your intuition, and you're so just pure curiosity, without fear, without judgments, without, I mean, self judgments, right? How high this can be and all that,
Yeah.
right? I think as a baby, because I've got my babies too, and I've seen that with my babies, they're just inquisitive of getting to know more and more and learning more and more, and just going with joy and going with this feeling of just feeling excited to try something new, and not having a care of what's happening in the world, which means like,
Mm.
I'm just going to do because this feels good, that kind of so
Okay.
yeah, I think that's what it brings to me when I think about it.
And that's you. That's what you do. That's how you live your life, moving forward to joy and doing things that make you feel good, and being curious and always learning and want to share that
Yeah.
with people.
Yes, yes,
All
yes, I
right.
think so.
Okay. So in that energy, tell us to come to Australia. So that will then. So what did you do here? So you're now what, 18, 19? Did you say you came to Australia?
Mhm.
And so then what happened? I mean, how did you get to being a podcast host? The untold story, a retreat leader, a youth mentor, meditation teacher, running retreats and healing, and really having a passion in holistic health and mindfulness and resilience. So how did you get there? Because I know in between that you had a experience in the film industry and everything else. And so how did you
Right.
get to where you are today?
Yeah, so that was 2002. So we might just go through milestones and tell a bit of the story. But the first year was the hardest. I remember because let's figure this. So I actually picture this. When I was in Pakistan, the last year that I was in Pakistan, when I was 18, was the year that you kind of get a lot of freedoms, which means that I was going to college. Year 12 was actually college, which means in Pakistan, you get to, dress what you want to dress like, do what you want to do. You're not in uniform anymore. And I was like, getting driven to school by a driver, getting picked and dropped. So I kind of had a little bit of a, sort of a luxury sort of a lifestyle.
Mhm.
So coming here, I think I got a reality check also not because of what the emotions my parents were carrying, because I was very in tune with the emotions of how they talk to their parents on the phone and they get teary and how mom like kind of breaks down. Other than that, I think I got a reality check of like how you do things with your hands. Like I learned how to wash dishes, I learned how to, clean things, and I learned how to do jobs which were odd jobs, right? And all of that kind of like blew my experience, like blew my mind. And I felt the desire, even though I was living with my parents, I felt the desire of doing jobs that literally humbled me, right? I literally went, let's say, when I was about 22, I went for a job in there was this two-person Turkish joint where I was doing pretty much all the work at the back end, like cleaning grills too, which was new for me, right? There's other jobs, but for me, that's the most hands-on job I've done, like really hot grills in water and everything, and cleaning floors and learning how to clean floors, because the manager was like, it looks like you've never really cleaned a floor. And learning, I was like, yeah, teach me how to clean a floor. I, at a very like early stage when I was in Australia, really wanted to uh, I really realized how like I lived a life which was very comfortable, and I wanted to get uncomfortable to feel the human behind, let's say, a fast food place, the human behind, let's say, a person who doesn't is on a wheelchair. Like I literally would go up to them and talk to them and say, how do you feel? How's the day going? And I realized the more I did that, the more of me came out, right? And so I started tapping into this person that I was, rather than fixating too much of on education stuff. I mean, education was happening, but I started becoming this more connected to my empath self, and I felt really happy around people. So that was happening. At the same time, I was doing my I did my year 12, and then I went from year 12 because I couldn't get the required UAI because I just did year 12 in like 5 months. I did a diploma in digital media at TAFE. And the idea was, dad was like, you have to do a degree, right? But I chose things that I loved doing, even though I was going towards a degree. So I love digital media and creating content. So I went for diploma. And through that diploma, I got the required UAI to go to Macquarie University. And I know you've been to Macquarie
Well,
University.
there you go. I didn't know that. So we're alumni. There we go. All right.
Alumni. And but I think I was a bit later than you. I was there 2005. And
That was much later than me.
yeah. And I ended up doing a bachelor's in multimedia. And I went for the next job, the 9 to 5 job, which was in advertising. And I started working in the city. And then it hit me, I wasn't happy. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I've done the degree, but like, what is next? And that was my bachelor's. So I decided that I wanted to do something with storytelling and filmmaking. But before that, I had all kinds of ideas. I wanted to do anthropology. I wanted to actually go to ruins and like brush things and like go through fossils and what to do that. At the same time, I wanted to study psychology. There was so much happening. And I came to this one point and I said, okay, let's do filmmaking because that's coming to be the most. And my dad said, if you want to do filmmaking, you have to do a degree in it. You're not just going to do one of those Sydney kind of quick courses and things like that. And I went with it. The good thing that came out of it, Arthur, was that I gave it my all because I loved it. It was my passion. And my passion came out more and more through learning more and more. And lucky to have a really good mentor in the end, I created a short film, Arthur, as my final master's work, which was made with all my heart. It was about a woman who lives in Afghanistan and how, despite having water all around her, she gives her son hope, right? And how war can affect both sides emotionally. And that film, Arthur, literally was the point where everything changed. So yeah.
So is that film available for anyone to watch? Is it in the public domain? Is it available? So if people wanted to see that film, so when did you do that? That was back when?
So this is like going through different times in my life, and this film was made in end of 2009. And
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So we're talking about 15 years ago about a woman giving her son hope who was surrounded by water, all right?
War,
And
war,
war,
war.
war, war.
Yeah,
So okay,
yeah,
so war. So in the middle
yeah,
of war,
yeah.
and giving her son hope in that environment. So no
Hmm,
matter what's going on outside of you,
hmm,
as long as you have a belief or have a focus or
hmm.
have an intention to bring something into your life, there's always hope.
That's it. And
I'd
I
love to see
think
that movie. I'm sure there's
yes,
people here that probably want to see that movie as well too.
yes, and it's on Vimeo, and I can send you a link too.
Sure, right?
And yeah, and think that is where my journey really like that's where I opened more of my, as you say, the spectrum of who you are.
Mm.
And that led me to the rest. Yes.
Because it's interesting because people say in that industry, right, when you're in the filmmaking or because we're all,
Hmm.
I think someone once said we're all actors on a stage and we must play a part. Was that the great Elvis Presley? Well, that was Shakespeare, right? And he sang the
Yeah.
song. So, we all, I think that gives us the stage or the platform for us to be able to explore the different parts of ourselves with permission, because that's the role, right? And
Yeah.
as we do that, we discover ourselves. I think that having the ability to maybe stand up in front of people and present, I think everyone needs to get into that energy because they discover parts of themselves. So you did that, and then that led you to what? So from there, that led you, because how did you get from there to now in this holistic space, in the health space, the
Mhm.
resilience space, the mindfulness, the retreat stuff, and
Mhm.
all the work that you're doing now?
Yes, Arthur. So thank you for that question because it makes me go back to that time when I did make that film. You see, that film was this I remember my dad watching it the first time it was screened, and it was on the big screen in UTS, and he actually had a tear in his eyes. And
Mm,
I think from there onwards, my dad and my relationship became more open too. And that's how I started disconnecting from just making him happy, but making myself happy. And I realized the film made me happy. And if it's something that makes me happy, can make my dad happy too. I realized that that is also a way of being. And when I embraced that way of being, of not so being so attached to dad as the hero, but like my friend, I think I emotionally, because I'm very emotionally charged, was able to then go towards opportunity that meant well for me. So with this film, I remember I made the film and it was done, and I started doing this job in this telemarketing place, and it was kind of a very fierce kind of a place. Like it was,
mm.
everybody was like, if you, how many sales do you have? How many sales do you have? How many sales do you have? I don't know. How many sales did you make? How many people did you call? I remember being in
Anyone
that place.
standing up on the phone, talking while they're
Oh yeah.
standing up, all that type of stuff, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and it was crazy. But I was doing it because I was like, I want to save money. Because for me, making money was separate to what you do as passion, right?
Yeah.
And back then, I remember someone saying, "Why don't you apply for this film festival, which is in the city?" And I remember till now, like I on my at the end of my work, I quickly like told them I need to duck out like around 4 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock. And I remember the post office was still open next to in West Gosford. It's actually the same place I've come back to. And I remember walking to the post office with this CD. Back then, you used to give DVDs and like put your sticker on
Yep.
them. And I put in this really this hard case, and I give it to them, and I said, I don't know, whatever happens, happens. One like 10 days later, in the same call center where everybody's like, Saliha, where are your sales? And like that manager being like, come on, I won't get a promotion till you don't guys do anything. It was like one of those little rooms where
Mm.
suddenly, so not suddenly, I go into the break, and there's usually the advocate over there, and I saw that on the advocate, it said that, you need to apply for this other film festival. So I went and applied for this other film festival. Now I applied to two film festivals, and I don't know what's going to happen. I get a call from the Film Festival, which was the second one, and they say, your film has been selected. And it's come down to 70 films, and let's see if it comes down to any other, So I was like, okay, let's say 70, at least it'll go to the top 15 or something like that. I was very hopeful. So then finally, I got a call from them that this is, we're having the festival and it's come down to the top 10. You've come to the top 10. And I went to this beautiful, lovely festival, film festival, going to city, not being sure, called my parents in, called all my friends in. I don't know what's going to happen, but I was so excited. I was like, I did this. I'm sitting in the middle of city and it's amazing. And it's this amazing red room. And the most amazing thing happened to me that day. My film was nominated as the top film. And they called me on stage and I was like, what? Like, what is happening? Like, I felt like the universe was directly like saying to me, like, it's you, it's you, it's you, you've got this. It's just accept it. And I'll be honest, Arthur, more than the excitement of holding that award they were giving me, I felt super connected, as you say. I didn't want to call it source, you call it a universe. I just felt this like this. I was blended in with the crowd or something. Like I'm just energy or just like particles, and I'm like I've expanded. Like I can connect with every human, and that feeling stayed with me, right? And I also like was a bit bewildered by like how did this happen,
Yeah.
right? All I knew, I put my heart and soul into the film. That's all I knew. Anyway, when I won that award, I went to radio stations like SBS, and they did my interview. Then I went to I got the Express Advocate to do a little story on me. It was like good times. 2010, 2011. Then I got selected to go to. I'm telling you this because then I'll tell you what happens.
Yeah.
In 2011, I was really blessed to go to Pakistan as a filmmaker, translator, and also a person who navigates the whole, like going from here to there, how do you do it, and where do you live, and all that. So producer. Um, and I was going with the NGO, which was just this one person lady who said, I want to make a film about the flood victims so that we can get some charity. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And I went with all my, I don't know what's going to happen. Like I went with the risk, even though it's a familiar place, but I've not been in camps and in places where there's flood and people like. So when I went there, literally, Arthur, it shook me. And I literally saw these babies and kids and humans just and literally sitting across them and talking to them. What are you feeling? How are you going? I think that literally all these experiences combined, going to the flood area, literally sitting with people, holding their hands, looking into their eyes, literally, like, I think made me who I am today, because I got to see people in their vulnerability. I got to see people when they're not empowered. How do they feel? Like they don't know how to help themselves emotionally. What do they do? Right? I got to see kids, despite being in that flood torn sort of area with like, wounds on their legs and things, like they don't have enough clothes, and they had smiles on their faces. And I was like, how do they smile though around them is devastation? And so I did the story more about, this is how my story developed, about the babies that were getting born there, about the kids who were smiling, the kids singing ABC with them. And I realized that it went from being a typical sort of like news thing, it became like a heartfelt story. So I went from there, 2011. I started working with the producer. Again, I was just like, assistant, this and that. The story comes down to when I got married and had my kids, I slowed down so much that I got scared that if I ever have to make a film, how will I make it again? I got really into this fear mindset. I felt like I cannot recreate that ever again. That Saliha that made all those amazing things, can she do that again? And I hit rock bottom, right? It wasn't the marriage. It was more like feeling like you don't know what kind of a mother you are till you have kids, right? And I loved my kids. I literally was a mother who would like literally be in tune with everything my daughter did when she was born. Like, I didn't even know I'll become like that mother. But the more far away I got away from creating that, I felt I can never do it again. I think I got into procrastination for a very long time. But things changed for me when COVID hit. Yes.
Okay. So
What
And look,
happened?
we call, we'll find out right now, but we
Yeah.
call this podcast or this conversation redefining yourself, like embracing change with trust and resilience. And we're hearing your story, and I think that's the theme through that, right? Like the times that you redefine yourself, the times that you reinvented you. And really, did you reinvent yourself? You just went through a journey to discover yourself or rediscover who you were. Maybe rediscover that child that was walk down the stairs and just playing in the
Mm,
in the grass and just in tune, that curiosity, that joy. And I think that's what makes you special. So COVID hit,
mm.
and then that affected the whole industry, right?
Oh yeah.
I suppose your
Oh,
industry. So that got you, I suppose, to rethink again and
mm,
redefine and
mm,
reinvent and maybe find something
mm.
else within you
Yeah.
that was always there. And I mean, that's what, for me, when I think about, people talk about COVID, I call it the great reset.
Mm,
People talk about the Great Depression of the 20s, or this was the great reset of the 2020, all right, 2019, 2020. It gave people an opportunity to be forced to go inside. It's an interesting metaphor. You were forced to go inside. All right,
yes.
we all got caught up with everything that's happening outside of us. All right, and some people still are there. They're,
Yeah.
in my opinion, survival mode, attempt to acquire all the things outside of them and make it about the riches, the likes, the experiences in life. And
Mm,
Robin Sharma says that tends to, for some people, it's like a escape. It's obviously they still have a gaping hole on the inside. And no matter what you do and get out there, you don't fulfill that
yeah.
hole. That great reset gave opportunity to people to explore that, to explore maybe how they were masking that in their life. And there's just lots of changes in people's lives and lots of,
Mm,
well, I suppose we can look at it and say change is good because people are now moving in a direction which maybe they're closer to the true selves. But
mm,
how did you discover another part of yourself? What happened to you during that time?
mm.
And is that what led to you now being in this industry?
Yeah, so very well said. Like, what was it, right? And that brings me to the idea of why I want to help women, right? Because I was this woman when I had my two kids. I used to be like sitting down and wanting to restart, like even writing a script, right? I just couldn't. I'm just taking you back to that so I can tell you what
Mm,
2020 did for me, right? I
yeah.
was sitting down. I remember I was like, just write a script. You know how to do this, right? And I would freeze, my hands would freeze. And I used to be watching shows with my kids, just giggle and hoot, and there's a bear in there. And I'm listening
Mm,
to the jingles and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? It was just hitting me like, okay, yeah, I'm a mom and I love this, but what happened, right? And I remember mom saying, what happened to your confidence? Because I wasn't driving, right? I don't drive. I didn't learn how to drive and back then. So I learned it later on in my life. And my mom was like, just go for the test, like just go for the training, the driving instructor. And why you're not doing it? She said, you used to have so much confidence. And that's when it hit me. I didn't like what she said because I was
mm,
so in that sort of victim sort of space where I was a mother who did not know that I can have more needs or wants other than just the kids, right? So especially when you know that something is your passion and you're not giving it any soul food, or you love it but you've not given it any attention. I realized that it was all up to me, right? It's nothing to do with my condition or anything, because I went back to the idea of that flood area where
mm,
there was so much devastation around them. Even with my story that I wrote for the film festival, which was like there was war around them, but there was hope inside the home. There was hope inside. And I think I kind of kicked my own butt. And I kind of had this really bad moment just before COVID hit, where I think it was 2019. And I said to a friend of mine, like, I just don't know what I'm doing. I don't know whose body I am in. I don't know what conversations I have with people. I don't know who I am. Like, it was this place
mm,
of not knowing my own voice. Like, I said, I cannot tell you who I am, though you're my good friend. And that friend said to me one thing, said, meditate for 21 days. I said, I cannot do this. Like, what is meditation?
mm,
And like people do this in temples. And he said, just trust me. And I was so needy and so did not have any other support that I just said, okay, what do I need to do? He said, 21 days, do this guided meditation, It's on YouTube, and this works. Oh, that's all I needed, right? I went for 21 days at my home every day, strategically, 15 minutes every day, which is a big thing for me back then because I was not giving myself any time and I don't
Yep.
know what was happening. It was like an explosion, as they say in tarot, a tower moment in my life.
Mm.
And I think after day 21, I started tapping into the power of affirmations. I started looking into Abraham Hicks. And 2019 was all about Abraham Hicks, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Gabriella Bernstein. And I was like, these are my teachers. These are my teachers. And I literally used to make notes out of what they're saying and just start writing it. And at the same time, this gave me power to write a script. I actually used to do this and write a
Mm-hmm.
script. That's all I was doing. And the kids. 2020 hit, and I was just before that. I had planned to go to Pakistan to shoot the film because this going to be a big project. And then it didn't happen because we couldn't travel, right? I go on a friend's podcast during COVID. This was, I think, early COVID times. And he's Adam Ba. Shout out to him. He's the one who got me into this. He had a really amazing podcast, and back then it was episode 30. Now he's at episode 288.
Good on him. Yep.
I went on podcast, and I came from this really this space where when I heard myself, I was like, who's speaking, right? And he's like, you just spoke a lot of wisdom here. You should try your own podcast. And I said, I try my own podcast. He said, yeah, just do your podcast. Next thing, Arthur, I knew that how sound works. I knew how equipment works. You know how they call transmutation? I think
Yeah.
that's what happened. I had the energy, I had vibrationally uplifted myself. I had come to a place of I want to seize the day and make the present a better day. And I got into podcasting, and that led me into learning what soul coaching is with a trainer in Canada. She trained me for 6 months. And yeah, ever since then, I just want to bring more spaces to people, especially to women now through my retreats, where they can be vulnerable, feel empowered, and they can develop themselves through the process.
Wow. And now your podcast, The Untold Story. Tell me about that.
Yes. So I realized that I'm going to call it the untold story told, because I felt there was so much of stuff within me which I never shared with anyone. And the moment I did, let's say, going to Adam Parr's podcast, I just felt like, wow, I just feel like, I am feeling better now, just feeling better, right? And I realized maybe people just want to feel better. Maybe people want to open their voice. Maybe podcasting is a way to tell your story so that you can feel empowered by telling your vulnerable story in a space where you feel comfortable. And when I started getting feedback like that, where people started saying, we feel comfortable telling about our trauma, we feel comfortable telling you, I was like, that's what I want to do. And so I became this person with them. Like in the beginning, it was just the phone. I was on Anchor. If you know about Anchor.
Yeah, Anchor. That's
Yeah. It was just the phone talking to people. Yes, this is what you're going through. All right. Where was it in your childhood where you first experienced? And it was just me creating my own sequence. And in the end, I used to just read affirmation. So that's how it started in COVID, in my room, and to sitting in this room. And I really believe, and this is what my soul coach also said to me, it's like you need to open your throat chakra. I do believe that when we voice out our stories, they don't stay stuck in our head. They do not eat us. They do not stay as bad thoughts. We don't carry them to the next, let's say, next relationship, whether it's work, whether it's intimate relationship. It's so important as human beings to hold hands. I really believe that's what the untold story told is holding hands like a tribe and saying, I saw an elephant, and the other person says, this is the theory of life, right? And nobody is saying that I'm better than you. And we're still holding hands and going let's do storytelling, because it takes a village to grow a child, right? So then what are we intrinsically? Inner childs, we're children, right?
Yeah. Well, I have to say, this last 3 or 4 minutes, as you're getting into that, you were just lighting up. You were cantillating. You were in a different zone telling that story. So what you're doing is really who you are. And so with this podcast, you're telling the untold story told. People sharing the stories. And I love that, because I've always said, I've learned from my transformational coach. I did some work with Jim Fortin, and he does a lot of shamanic work. And he says, what we think is most personal tends to be most general. And then we don't share our story because we think, oh, you're not going to understand me. You know, like 7 billion people on the planet, as if you're the only one going through this problem. You're not the first and you're not going to be the last. But we tend to isolate ourselves. And when we isolate ourselves from everyone else, we create the disconnection from the human race. That's where suffering begins, right? And it's the learning for us to reconnect not only with ourselves but with other people. And so you've written a book, The Ultimate Self-Care Workbook. And so tell me about that, because people can get that on Amazon, right? So if they want to know about the Ultimate Self-Care Work, tell me about that. Is that a bunch of all these tools and experiences that you've, a process that you work with, take to do what? What does it help people do?
Yes. So, women mostly, it's been targeted for women. Uh, I find that most women, they find it hard being open about their feelings and what they're going through, right? So a book, which is a workbook, that can be something that they can do in their private time where they can sit down. And what this book is divided into is to equip women with ideas which are all around spirituality, how to take care of themselves spiritually, how to help themselves in a emotional self-care, in physical self-care, in environmental self-care, and in how they can do things like recreationally, any tips and
Yep.
ideas of what they can do. So it's divided into 7 sections. Each is like, tell us your thoughts about what you feel, what made you happy when you were a child. So it's literally going into the surface and then redoing everything that you thought about life, questions that I think as human beings, we don't, the quality of the questions that are asked is what defines our path forward, right? So
Mhm.
often we are not able to do it for ourselves. And having a workbook in the past has helped me, right? So I thought, why not create a workbook which has blank spaces and like a little accountability in the end, which is self-accountability, so they can guide themselves to emotional, physical, and spiritual self-care.
Awesome. So, okay, so that book is the Ultimate Self-Care Workbook. It's now available on Amazon, so people can check it there. Maybe we can put a link in the chat. I'm sure Patricia, my wonderful VA, who no longer is in the Philippines, she's moved to Australia now, so she's in Perth, and so she has now taken on a different role with us. You know, over the last 2 years, been with us, and now she's in this space of coaching and helping other people and supporting us with this business. So she'll put that link in there. And so, is that what you do now? So you got your mum, you got the podcast, you've done all this work, you know, the soul coaching, Abrahamics, Joe Dispenza, the meditation, all this training. And is that your business now? Can people come and see you individually? And do you provide them, provide a service that way? Tell us about that, because there could be listeners here who are saying, I'm really connected with Sal's story. I want to be able to reach out to her, and how do I get hold of her to maybe she can give me some tips or go through some of those processes, or tell us about, you know, when was the first time that you recall that, and give them an affirmation like you did, right, when all this started. Is that what you do now?
Yes, yes. So with my podcasting, I'm open to coming to other people's podcasts, just like with you. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I'm open to anybody who has a message to share or feels like they need to say this out. You know, I'm not just like, somebody who's a coach or somebody who's just an individual who wants to say what they have to say. They can come to my show and we can talk about it, and we can bring you on the show if that helps you move
Mm-hmm.
forward. The second thing that I offer is I do coach women. If they want to have a one-on-one with me, I can get them into my DMs and we can allot some time for the coaching. And the most amazing, exciting thing that I'm doing right now is creating a retreat for women, especially moms. And that is something that is brewing. And as a retreat leader, I welcome everyone to find out more by clicking on the links, because there's really amazing, enriching experiences coming, which moms will really enjoy, and it will bring them calm, and it will get them into a space where they can find more and more.
Love it. So how can people find out more about that, Sal?
Yes, so I can send you a link to my Instagram, which keeps updating with all the latest that's coming up for the retreat. I have my LinkedIn, my Facebook, that's Saliha Wazirzada. The Instagram is The Untold Story Told. And I have something free for your audience members too, which is a gift, not free, it's a gift for your audience. And that is my own recorded guided meditation, because I've recorded a few, and this is my most favorite one, which I'm gifting to your audience, which is a heart chakra meditation, which goes on for 10 minutes. And I can send you the link for the SoundCloud link for that
Love
too.
it.
It's in my
Love it.
voice, and I hope you enjoy it. And I would love to get some feedback from your audience
Love
too.
it. We will certainly put it. Patricia's already put the link to your Instagram, and so people can connect with you there. So yes, thank you so much for that heart chakra meditation. And I'm looking forward to listening to that. Look, Sal, we've gone an hour having a chat. Where did that hour go? Right. I actually found myself. I didn't talk a lot in this one. I just sat back and I just wanted to hear your story, which is awesome.
Yeah.
What I got from the story, my key takeaways, as I said, this we label this redefining yourself, and I think when I listened to your story and the characteristics that you brought in, the learnings that you're blessed to be able to receive from your dad, those values of going for it, taking that risk, right? You being curious, learning something new, looking, and you said one word, which I think is a big word, and maybe it's misinterpreted or misunderstood for people. You said you humbled yourself with the work that you chose to do. You chose to humble yourself to do a whole different types of work, from cleaning hot grills to sweeping floors, just to understand the human condition and the human narrative, to understand the stories behind people's lives.
Yes.
Perhaps they're the untold stories that need to be told, right? Because there's always a purpose to someone's choice in life and what it is they choose to do. So I want to say thank you so much, Sal, for sharing that. For everyone that's listening, please connect with Saliha. She's there. We've got all the links there. We've got a link to your book there in the links as well too. Your link to your Instagram. Thank you so much, Patricia, for doing that. And we'll send you as well the meditation. In fact, what we want you to do is to put a message in here saying meditation, 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 if you want the heart meditation, and we'll send it to you, and we'll make sure you connect with Sal and connect to a podcast and find out more about that retreat. So what's the time on the frame on that retreat? The retreat for women to do this type of work, to come into a like-minded community, a safe community where maybe they can share the stories that need to be told in order for them to heal, and then learn these tools and techniques that have helped you as well.
Yes,
What's the time frame on that, Sal?
That's the big idea, right? The untold story told, going into the retreats too, where people share the stories. The timeline is looking like somewhere around July. So we're looking into July. At the same time, just wanted to put it out there, Arthur, talking about recreating and moving, and I know time limit is there. I'm moving to America.
Whoa, hey! Is that fireworks? We need to put fireworks down there. You're moving to America? When did this happen?
Well, I don't know what the universe has planned, but my husband got a promotion and we are all going, just like when I went with Dad, right?
Wow.
And it's funny, like, it's something that maybe it's going to work out.
Let's stay on for another half an hour, talk about that. I mean, I want to hear about. So whereabouts in the States are you going?
In Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Yeah, so very close to Palo Alto and Mountain View, all that. Yes.
Wow. All right. So more opportunities, I'm sure, will open up for you there.
Yes. Yes.
So when are you looking to move? When's the time frame are you moving with the whole family to the States?
That is what we're trying to search right now. School start in August. We want to be out by July. So the dates of the retreat are dependent on me moving as well. But
Gotcha.
I'm brewing it. It's ready. It's baked. The retreat is baked, and I would love women to come in. It's just about setting the date, and I will do it as soon as it comes to.
All right. So just put in here retreat. So we know that you're not only interested in the meditations, you want the retreat. We got a lot of people saying, let's put these messages on the screen. We got here, you can see these messages pop up. Are they popping up? Yes. Jody saying, thank you, Sal, for your great interview. Patricia saying, wow. We got thank you, Sal. And we got all your links there as well too. So you can see we got your links in the guide. So that's what people can get that. Sal, I just want to thank you. Thank you for your time. And we wish you all the successes when you get to the States. Before that, for the retreat. I mean, hey, we'll stay connected. Obviously, we're connected through to the environment and the community that we're in. And I just love the work that you do. I love the person that you are. I love what you stand for. And I really enjoyed the conversation and hearing the journey that you went on, because that's what it's about, right? Redefining yourself. And you're continuing to do that.
Yes.
All right, last question.
Yeah. Yes.
What's the next level, Sal? As you redefine, what's out there as the next level
I feel
of you?
when I do my visualizations, I see myself standing in front of people, a big audience, and
How many
motivating
people?
them, like 1 million.
Okay, all right. So you're standing in front of 1 million people and
telling them that they can change their life and then change the world by changing their life.
Sal, I get to give you a round of applause for that. That is awesome. Well, it's my applause.
That
There
is
you go.
possible. That is possible. You can do that. You can change your life.
Well, I'll tell you what. If a 9-year-old baby can walk down those stairs and don't know how he got there, then you can climb. 9-month-old baby can walk down those stairs, then
Yes.
you can walk
Yes.
all the way up to the top.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe
Sal, thank
that.
you so much again,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you so much for listening to us. We'll be back again soon with our next Conscious Conversation or the Conscious Evolution Show. Sal, thank you so much. You stay there. We'll say goodbye to everyone. We'll stop the stream and we'll check everyone out. Thank you, Sal, for... we got Susan Bally here as well, too. Meditation. We got some people saying meditations. So we'll get that out to all of you guys. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all very, very soon.